Hey, welcome back to This Week at Gridiron Icon. Thanks for stopping in. I am very excited this week because it is not very often that I get to talk to a Ram brother, somebody who loves my team as much as I do. And here's somebody who may love them more, even though I'm much older than he probably is. We are joined this week by the editor of Downtown Rams, which can be found at downtownrams.com. Go check them out, give them a follow. Blaine Grisak, the editor and fellow Ram fan. So, why are we here this week with Blaine? Well, Blaine and I kind of met like almost everybody does these days online on Twitter. I am not quite a Jared Goff apologist, but I'm probably a bigger fan maybe than most people. There's a small tribe of us. And Blaine's like, come on, guys, get over yourselves. So we agreed to get together and talk about it. So if you've got feelings on this Jared Goff situation, and by the way, this is not to take away from the stud we have in Matt Stafford, because I've loved that guy way before he was in Horns. We're just going to talk about this Jared Goff thing. Let's just get it off our chest and blow this thing up and kind of settle this thing forever, because there's still some real emotions out there. So Blaine, welcome, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to. This is a very hot topic among Rams fans, so I'm excited to break it down and go back and forth with you a little bit.
Oh, I love it. Well, listen, folks, go follow Blaine and his comrades on Downtown Rams, especially if you're a Rams fan. You got to get on there, and he's very active on Twitter. We got to talking a little bit about it, particularly this last weekend. People did get really noticeably silent, right? The Matt Stafford isn't an upgrade over Jared crowd. Folks, let me just get this out of the way first, Blaine. I love Matt Stafford, loved him a long time ago. And Matt Stafford is physically more gifted than Jared Goff. Folks, he's built to win Super Bowls. He's in that upper echelon. You even heard it in the offseason with guys like Aaron Rodgers, who's somebody that's underrated. He immediately pointed to Matt Stafford. So, but let me ask you, Blaine, I just got to get your opinion and let you run with it. Why are people so sensitive about this Jared Goff leaving the Rams and Matt Stafford? What's the dividing line in your opinion?
I just think there's so much emotion behind it. I think there's two factors. I think you look at, Goff brought good times to LA. I mean, football in LA didn't necessarily start off hot. I was there for the opener in 2016, but that's about as good as it got in 2016. You have 4-12. Goff goes 0-7 as a starter. Kind of looks like a bust, and football is kind of looking doomy and gloomy there in LA. But after that season, Goff he addresses the media and says, I promise you guys that it will get fixed. I'll give everything in my heart and soul to get it fixed. And I think that really struck Rams fans. And he turns it around in 2017 and 2018. I mean, there were times where he looked like a top 10 quarterback. And I mean, when you're going back and forth with Patrick Mahomes, not many quarterbacks can do that. And Goff did. I mean, I just remember 2018. You go to the Vikings game, and it's just perfect passer rating. I remember he rolls one throw. He rolls to his right and hits Cooper Kupp on the move in the back of the end zone. It's just like there's not many quarterbacks that can make that throw. And then I mentioned the Chiefs game. And then the NFC Championship game. I mean, you have a hurt Todd Gurley. You're down 13-3 in arguably the most hostile environment in the NFL behind maybe Arrowhead Stadium and Seattle. Like, not many quarterbacks are going to come back from a 10-point deficit in the NFC Championship game. And he hits Brandon Cooks before halftime to go in the half down 13-10. They hang in there until the end of the game, and then you're down by 3. You got a little over a minute to go to get into field goal range, and he drives down, gets a field goal. They get the ball in overtime, does the same thing, and the Rams are in the Super Bowl. So there's that aspect of it, but I also think that you look at 2019 and 2020, where there's this group of fans that they know the Rams can do better because Goff never progressed, and they understood that we have this short window. Sean McVay, he's a top 5 play caller and a top offensive mind. Last year they have a top 10 offensive line. You have Kupp and Woods. You have the number 1 defense, and yet you're fighting for a playoff spot that last week of the season because of against the Dolphins, Goff has 4 turnovers, and the Dolphins win with Tua having 93 yards passing. The Seahawks game, you're up 6-3 driving before the half, and Goff throws an inexplicable interception directly to Jamal Adams. 49ers, 3 interceptions and you lose to Nick Mullins. Jets game, you lose to the Jets. You can't do those, and you win those games, and that's the difference between the number one seed in the NFC and traveling to Green Bay in the divisional round of the playoffs. So you have the short window, and at some point you got to say, at what point do we move on and get this guy that can give what we need right now?
Yeah, and look, I can't defend any of that stuff. I was curled up in the fetal position, sucking my thumb during those games too. It was brutal, and he looked like a rag doll at times. Like he was just out of sorts, particularly that Miami game when Flores was throwing a zero blitz at him. He just looked like a guy who'd never seen it before, and that's weird. I mean, they'd been seeing that
for a guy that's in his 5th year in the league. Like you should know that's coming.
Yeah, I can't dig on that. I think that you touched on something that a lot of fans, Rams fans, and people, and like everything, people draw up sides, and I'm not really drawing up sides. I think my push with the Jared Goff thing is, man, it's time to celebrate Matt Stafford. I don't know why all these people always got to take shots at Jared Goff. I mean, I sent that you and I were talking prior to this. I mean, 18,000 yards, 91.5 QBR, 6 comebacks, 8 game-winning drives, including that NFC Championship you mentioned. That ridiculous throw to Tyler Higbee that kept that drive alive for the field goal was unreal. 2 Pro Bowls, a Super Bowl. The kid was amazing in the community during the fires and the bar shootings and that terrible stuff in Los Angeles. I saw some of the other guys in our podcast world going like, why do people always got to rip on Goff? My thing is, come on, Rams fans, let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate him and Gurley, because I think you and I probably agree losing Todd Gurley is just a gut punch, and he's not even playing football anymore. And it's just weird how people continue to get emotional about that. But I think you bring up a good point. Look, he did not play well, man. He did not play well those last couple of years. The playoffs, he seemed to kind of have a chip on his shoulder with the bad thumb. But I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, like 62 turnovers since 2017, which led the NFL last night. Jameis Winston.
I did not look that up. I did not want to look that up.
but just like 58.5 QBR, which ranked bottom 10 in the NFL. Like you just the Rams are in this spot right now where like Les Snead has built this team to win now, and you could wait 2 to 3 years, another year, maybe 2-3 years to see if Jared Goff develops into that guy that, maybe he does end up taking that next step. You don't know. But at that point, Andrew Whitworth is retired. Aaron Donald is in his mid-30s. Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, Robert Woods are getting up there too. Like, yeah. You have to capitalize now.
I can't argue with that reasoning. In fact, that's what I was going to ask your opinion on next is, I look back and we talked prior, and I sent you some numbers on people like Brett Favre and Peyton Manning, and even a guy that we all agree on, Kurt Warner, that had these kind of donut holes right in the middle of their career where things went sideways. And their quarterback ratings were in the 70s, or in Manning's case in Denver, at one point it was in the 60s, and he was still having them in the playoffs. But I think that you touched on what's at the core of this whole thing that we agree on, that they couldn't wait. They just couldn't wait. I think Jared could have been great with McVay. He showed he could be great with McVay. But Aaron Donald's 30. Robert Woods is moving into his 30s. What do we do with Cooper Kupp's prime years? I think that we could just sum up the whole podcast now that, look, they just couldn't wait, and they were all in, right? They were all in on winning now.
That's it. That's exactly it. And just, Goff is just too inconsistent for him. And, like he was obviously frustrating McVay. McVay felt he couldn't run the offense as well as he could with Goff under center. Goff wasn't taking those steps that he had expected him to after the 2018 season. You just, in the NFL, you can't take something for granted. And I mean, the Denver Broncos, I think the last year with Manning kind of got lucky. They had an all-time great defense, and I mean, I don't think you can really hope to strike lightning twice there. Going with that kind of sort of tactic and hope that you can just get this historical defense to play at that level.
Point. But that's a good point. I mean, they had Brock Osweiler was actually doing well there for a while. Remember when? It was really that defense.
Yeah. So, and McVay's an offensive guy. Like he you watch McVay last year and watch him on Sunday against the Buccaneers, and he's running down to the tunnel to meet Deshaun Jackson first. Like, you can tell he's just having so much more fun this year than last year. And I don't know if that's all on Jared, but I think moving on was probably the right move for both sides.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Like the only thing I think you and I disagree on is like some of these folks that just go off every Sunday bringing up Jared Goff. Folks, he's the quarterback of the Lions. Let's just celebrate this. Quit ripping on the kid. We had good memories with him. He got us to a Super Bowl. In fact, I think when I met you, I asked you how long you've been a Rams fan, because some of these people have been fans for like 5 years. Yeah. And they don't understand that before Jared Goff was the Sahara Desert of bad quarterback play, no playoffs, losing records. It's like, let's give the kid his dues. No one ever said he was Peyton Manning. What do you, looking back, I'll dig in a little bit looking back, because I want to get another Rams fan's opinion and somebody who follows them like you do. What do you think the impact was of losing Gurley, Cooks, John Sullivan, Roger Saffold? Do you think that impacted Jared between 2018, or do you really think it was that Super Bowl that just gave him a hangover he could never recover from?
I do think I think it's a little bit of both. I think that what the Patriots showed in that Super Bowl really kind of gave the NFL an outline on this is how you attack Jared Goff. This is how you make him uncomfortable, and this is how you stop this Rams offense that we haven't been able to do anything against for the last year and a half, 2 years. So I do think that's part of it. But Todd Gurley was on pace for a Hall of Fame career. Like, he was Marshall Faulk 2.0. Like, I just remember, I think it was 2017, the game against the Titans. It's a very tight game, and Goff dumps a small screen to Gurley. He takes it 70 yards to the house, and that was that. Like, they didn't trail after that. Just such a game changer, and I think the Rams offense kind of revolved around more so Gurley than it did Goff. And when they lost Gurley, like, when you lose a playmaker like that, it's going to have a huge effect. As far as Cooks, like, you get rid of the deep threat, but I don't know how much him leaving affected the offense that much. I mean, they needed the cap space. Watkins, I don't think, was a good fit. Saffold, I think they should have re-signed. I wish Saffold would have been a Ram for life. Just he's been through everything. And then Sullivan, I know in 2019 Brian Allen and whoever else they put at center just wasn't good, but at the same time, like, Sullivan didn't really have a great end of 2018 either. He was an aging center. He allowed 43 pressures, 32 QB hurries, and 4 sacks in 2018. So you're adding up another year. It was time to move on. I just kind of I think they probably needed a better insurance plan in place for that move to happen than just rolling the dice on a rookie. But yeah, I think losing Gurley had a significant effect for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you feel like I do, man. I was just reading some of his stuff. He's out of high school today, meeting with some kids, and he's just such a good dude. That made me sick. I wish Todd was still in Horns, and it's just surreal that he isn't.
Yeah, I remember going to training camp in 2017, and it was my first time going, and I'm there like waiting to get an autograph afterwards, and he's there signing everybody. He's signing every last jersey, every last football, until the security's pulling him away essentially. And
wow,
just such a classy guy, and I like. He's one of those guys where I feel like we were robbed of a Hall of Fame career. I really do. Like, he was on pace for some special things.
Yeah, I'm putting him right in that. As crazy as it sounds, I'm putting him right in that Bo Jackson category. With this dude would have rewritten a lot of records if his body hadn't just given out. So yeah, I think that impacted. I mean, you've been a Rams fan a long time, so I wanted to ask you this one: does any of this dynamic? And I know that I really think that you do, that this is going to go away in a few weeks. The Rams are taking over the NFL, people. You heard it here from 2 Rams guys. We're here. But does this kind of remind you a little bit of the Warner Bulger fallout? You remember how Rams fans were like at each other's throats during that time period, with Warner and Bulger.
Honestly, that time period on Twitter would have been insane. I'm glad it wasn't. As far as that dynamic, yes, like I think Rams fans would have been at each other's throats, and Kurt Warner would have beaten the Panthers, et cetera, et cetera. Like,
yep.
But at the same time, like, Warner had played 9 games in 2 years. Bolter was kind of there in the waiting and executed Martz's offense how he wanted to. I think like hindsight is 2020, but I honestly don't know if Warner has a Hall of Fame career if he stays with the Rams, just because the offensive line and the organization just went to complete hell. I don't think he makes it. Warner has the same career as Bolger does if he stays in St. Louis, just because of how many hits he took. Like Warner kind of leaving ended up being the best move for him because he was able to, do what he did in New York, fine, whatever. But then he goes to Arizona and takes them to the Super Bowl as well, and comes up just short. But yeah, I think I think it kind of worked out, even though it definitely I think was a little heartbreaking for some Rams fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see, just as an older dude and been around. I've been a Rams fan since the '70s, so there's my age. Hey, puppy. But I'll tell you, the Warner Bolger thing was so volatile, and then you probably lived through the Bradford years too, where he was to blame for everything, despite the fact that he was getting the snot kicked out of him every play. I think Rams fans are just used to this, and it's always an emotional issue. So I think we agree. I'm looking forward to the day where we're just celebrating number 9, and we're doing that. And I'm watching the Detroit Lions because I'm rooting for Jared. Full transparency, by the way, I didn't share this with you. I actually grew up in the same hometown as Jared's dad. He was 3 years ahead of me in high school, and he was the campus stud. I mean, he was good at everything. Baseball.
He was a pitcher, wasn't he? His dad?
I believe he was a catcher.
Oh, catcher. Okay.
Catcher and third base. Don't quote me because I'm not a baseball guy. But Jerry Goff was the big man in our town. And Jared went to high school literally a mile and a half from where I grew up. So, but with that said, I'm rooting for Jared. But hey, I'm a Rams guy first, so I am way behind Matt Stafford. Let me shift gears for just a second because I want to get your thoughts on this. When you look at Sean McVay, 2 things I want to ask you. Do you think that McVay at this point in his career, underline that part, is good at developing quarterbacks, or do you think he's better with a ready-made stud like Matthew Stafford to run this offense? What's your take on that?
I think both can be true. I mean, look where Jared Goff was at the end of 2016, and look where he was at the beginning of 2017, and tell me McVay didn't have anything to do with that. Like Jared Goff was seen as this huge number 1 pick bust, and comes in 2017 and has people thinking he's a capable starting quarterback, which he is. And then, I mean, look at Bryce Perkins too. He looked really solid he looked really solid in the preseason. But I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The Rams needed a quarterback that could win right now. Matthew Stafford fit that. He fit the style of quarterback that McVay wanted, and yes, I think that's just kind of the direction that they went. I mean, even look at John Wolford too. I mean, Wolford comes in. He's kind of been in the Rams system for a couple of years, and comes in at the end of last year to beat the Cardinals when his number was called, and he started and got credited the win against the Seahawks in the playoff game. So
yeah. No, sorry, you bring up a good point I hadn't thought about. Just watching Bryce Perkins in the preseason, my God, I'll tell you where I give McVay an A+, and you probably agree, is how he develops coaches, man. Yeah. I mean, we've lost 7 coaches just from last year, and the year before, I think it was 4 or 5. Every year, people are pillaging our coaching staff, and McVay keeps turning out this dynamic winner. I mean, Sunday, the NFL saw this team's for real. Folks, that's 7 different coaches from just a few months ago. McVay really has a way of building a culture and a coaching staff that I don't think anybody else has matched yet. He's pretty amazing that way.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of, I think, Belichick-esque in that standpoint, where anybody can come in and run that defense. Anybody can come in and help McVay run the offense. He's and I think that you're absolutely correct there on McVay's ability to build the culture. I mean, look where the Rams were from 2007 to 2016, just an absolute disaster, year after year after year, top to bottom. And McVay comes in year 1, and it's we, not me. It's team first, and that's just something that we hadn't seen in 10 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that man, if there was an area where he gets an A++, it's in developing coaches and cultures. It's mind-blowing from a guy who's been a Rams fan. I would live through all of the Rich Brooks and Spagnola, and oh my God, I mean, there was some down, dark times, and McVay turns it around seemingly year after year. He's overhauling his coaching staff and still turning out a winner. It's amazing. Another quick McVay question. 3 games in, we're way too early for these, but 3 games in, have you noticed any change in his play calling?
Yeah, I have, honestly. Like, I think he's more aggressive. He's more confident. I think you're seeing more variety. Like, something that you really never saw with Jared Goff was play action and shotgun, and they're running a lot more of that. Like, Stafford's not having to turn his back to the defense on play action as much because he's doing it in shotgun and able to face the defense. And with Goff, they were always doing that under center, and defense has shown one thing at the snap. Goff's turning his back, and then they show a different look when he's coming out of that. They're running more empty sets because Stafford can execute it and doesn't panic. Like, I think it just gives McVay this ability to adjust and do more. And what I'm absolutely loving is, you're seeing Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp running routes out of the backfield, and that's just like you never saw that last couple of years. And
you bring up a good point. The thing that jumped out at me this past Sunday against the Buccaneers was just some of those sets where he had 3 receivers to one side and the other 2 receivers up tight to the opposite side, almost like 12 personnel tight ends. I mean, we never seen some of those formations till Sunday. I hadn't seen them. I went back and tried to look for a couple seasons, and then, I'd completely forgotten. Seeing Kupp and Woods in the backfield, Woods actually getting a carry from the running back position Sunday, which he can do. Was wild. I think the play, you see a level of confidence with McVay, with Stafford that there's no one that's a Rams fan that could argue that.
How many timeouts on the first series have you seen? Like, McVay typically he's had all 3 of his timeouts heading into the second quarter. His first 3 games, and that never happened the last couple of years. It's like, wow.
It's a great point. You can't argue this stuff, folks. These are facts. Yeah. Do you find yourself, as you watch on Sundays, I'm sitting there trying to figure out, is he in his headset like he was Jared's till the 15-second mark? It doesn't look like it, man. It looks like he's going, Matt, here's the keys to the car. Tear it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing with the Goff Stafford thing is going to drift away. That's what originally brought us together. And I hope people just go, Jared, thanks, man. It was good stuff. But every Sunday when Stafford does great, you've got these people on Twitter, which is, it is what it is. We all know what it is. Like, they got to take a shot at Goff. Come on, man. Goff, by the way, of the last couple of weeks, has really had the Lions in a position to win. And I have to admit, we've seen some of the shortcomings that we saw as Rams fans, losing the ball left from center, throwing pick sixes. So rooting for him.
Yeah, I think that I guess I don't think it's hate, but we'll say I think that hate will go away in a year or two, and I do think Goff will go down as I think he'll be remembered as one of the better Rams quarterbacks of all time, just because of 2017 and 2018 were really special. And I mean, you look at his last win with the Rams. I mean, going out to Seattle, hostile environment, dislocated thumb, and coming out with a win like that. That's a gutsy performance. And
it was an awesome performance, man. You know where I put Jared, because I'm fond of the kid and I'm really rooting for him. Being on the West Coast, you're on the East, but I'm on the West. I get to see the East Coast games early. I've been watching the Lions, rooting for him. But Jared is our Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah,
with the Seahawks. He had that year where it all came together. He had, Sean Alexander. We had Todd Gurley. He had that really kind of special dynamic. I think we need to celebrate it. And I think guys like you and I probably do over a beer. But, there's always got to be these people. Let's rip Jared again. Well, come on, guys, just move on. It's a new era. So I got to ask you, man, while I've got you, and then we're going to go into our 2-minute drill, which we finish every show with. That's where we have fun and we learn about Blaine. Do you like these uniforms and this logo, or no? I gotta know.
It might be a controversial take, but I've liked them since the beginning, and I really have. It's a nice, like, I mean, the classics. Like, the young blood behind you will always be the top dog. But as far as a modern take and a modern look on that, like, I love the blues. The new white kind of throwback uniforms that they have this year are are very, very good. I actually like the bone. I think it's unique. I think those will eventually go away, which I think fans will like, and hopefully these throwbacks become the permanent away jerseys. But yeah, I love the Rams head logo.
You do?
I
Wow.
like the Rams head. I didn't like the LA logo at first, but it's grown on me. But yeah, for the most part, I really do like the new logo and uniform.
Oh man, I got to tell you, man, I love you, my fellow Rams brother, but I do not like. But isn't this a generational thing?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're right. The young blood jersey, I'm sure you know the significance of 2105 with Mr. Dickerson. I probably got a little bit more of the old school. I'd love to see a shift into something like the Deacon Jones era with the blues and the whites. But yeah, I tell you where it hurts me, man, and we'll touch base throughout the season. But where it kills me is when I see the Chargers stuff. When I see Justin Herbert's hat on the sidelines, I'm like, man, Raheem Morris's hat just isn't as cool as Justin Herbert's hat. So, okay, we're divided, folks. Enough of that. We're going to the Super Bowl. You heard it here first from these two guys. This is going to be a fantastic year for our Los Angeles Rams. Okay, this is where we get to know Blaine a little bit. We're going to go into our 2-minute drill, which almost never is inside 2 minutes. I'm just going to warn you right now. But this is where we get to know our guest a little bit and have a little bit of fun. So, Blaine, 2 minutes. We're in the red zone. We're driving.
All right.
For a first down, what's your game day beverage, man? How do you start a Rams game?
I typically go with whatever IPA I have in my fridge.
Ooh, Pacific
Yes.
Northwester at heart.
Yeah, so I usually go with an IPA, but I got a case of White Claw in my fridge just if I need it. So
No judgment. The wife does too.
and if I go hardcore, I usually go with a gin and tonic. So, but
All right.
typically an IPA though is the drink of choice.
Little Tangerine tonic. Maybe not. You got to get out to Oregon, man. We're IPA central in this country. And we're big out here on the craft beers. Great. Okay. I don't even know if this pertains to you, man, but I ask all the young guys, the football players, Xbox, PlayStation, or PC?
I go with an Xbox just because all my friends play Xbox.
Nice.
But I'm kind of jealous of PlayStation. He's got the Spider-Man games on PlayStation. Like you don't get those on the Xbox. But my friends are Xbox guys, so therefore I'm an Xbox guy.
Xbox guy here too.
Nice.
I'm off the Madden bandwagon the last few years. I can't stand it
Same.
anymore. It's driving me insane. We'll talk about that another time. But all right. We're gelling here at the Xbox. Okay, let's have some fun. You're drafted by the Rams. What position are you playing, man?
In my backyard as a kid, I idolized Kurt Warner, and I was a quarterback. So I'm put me under center and let me throw touchdowns with Cooper Kupp.
Oh, okay, yeah. 18 or 10 on the jersey.
10.
Yeah, he's looking good, man. He looks really good. He looks good, period. I love it. Big Kurt Warner fan, too. Had the opportunity to meet him one time in 2000 after a Seahawk game up here in the Seattle area. But Kurt's the greatest Rams quarterback ever, folks. Come at me. Argue with me. I mean, he's absolutely amazing. Okay, you're playing. What's your jersey number? Is Kurt's retired? What's your number?
I got to go 13. That's that's a number I chose when I played youth league. So yeah, I just got to go 13.
Man, we're soul brothers.
Yeah.
It's my favorite number.
Nice.
It's my jersey number. Yeah, 13. Love it. Okay, favorite Ram player of all time. Might have given this away already.
Yeah, it's probably Kurt Warner just because like that's who I he's why I fell in love with the team. But his tenure was pretty short lived. But so really, my memories watching the Rams really are watching Steven Jackson. He's the guy that like I through all those dark years.
There's Steven right there.
Nice.
He's an Oregon guy too. Oregon State Beaver.
State,
Love me some S Jacks, man. That kind of leads me into my next question, the 2-minute drill. Most underrated Ram of all time.
All right, so Steven Jackson is probably the obvious answer, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go kind of a different route here. I think I go Henry Ellard, third all time. Retired third all time in receiving, 7 1,000-yard seasons, and not a Hall of Famer. Like what is this?
Okay, you just impressed me, man. You just blew me away. I'm a big Henry Ellard fan. Number 80 before the great Isaac Bruce. God, great call. I got to throw one out there at you. even though it's not my 2-minute drill. London Fletcher,
Yeah, him too. Yeah.
man,
I,
that guy's so
I wish
underrated.
I wish they would have kept him longer because he was.
Oh, God, remember that? Traded him for Jamie Duncan. No
Yeah.
offense, Jamie Duncan, or he left and we picked up Jamie. Yeah, that's a bitter memory too. Okay, you can watch a game at SoFi with one Ram player or coach, past or present. Might have given this away, but who's it going to be?
It's got to be Sean. It's got to be Coach McVay. I think watching a game with McVay would be a lot of fun. He seems like a fun guy. Knows a lot about the game. He'd probably be able to tell you some fun stories and tell him what he would have done in that situation, or what play he would have drawn up. So yeah, I got to go with McVay. We're sitting at SoFi watching the Chargers lose to the Broncos. That's what game we're watching.
Very nice. Man, you surprised me with that one. I didn't see that coming. Wow, I thought it was going to go Kurt Warner again. But hey, I'll tell you, McVay, watching him on Sunday, dude, you better be ready to slap palms. And
yeah. It'd be fun.
Man, was he jacked up, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was excited. Okay, final question for the touchdown. You can add one past player to our current Rams. Who would you plug in?
With the current situation at running back, I think you got and with the current situation at running back, you have to go with Steven Jackson. I think just because with the years that he had, I think he deserves to win and he deserves to be on this team. But I'll throw another guy out there and go with prime Robert Quinn, or even throw Deacon Jones on that other side, and put another pass rusher next to Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and see what happens.
Good choices, man. Quinn. He only got 1 year, maybe 2 with AD when he was a rookie.
And then the back injury really affected him. I think he had that 20 and a half sack season and hurt his back and just kind of wasn't the same player. But give me prime Robert Quinn on the other side and let's wreak havoc.
Man, I tell you, those are killer choices. I love. Can you imagine Steven Jackson in this offense?
Yeah, he's so fun.
To go over 10,000 yards in your career, just losing every Sunday. He so deserves this team.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, come on, 39, be a Ram. Yeah, great choices, my man. That's it for our 2-minute drill. Good insight into you as a fan, folks. Listen, connect with Blaine or myself, but follow Blaine at DowntownRams.com. You can also find him on Twitter. Just look for Blaine Grisak on Twitter. Blaine, my man, I really appreciate it. Any parting words or other places that we can find you and hang out with you during Rams games?
No, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed our discussion. Like you said, follow me on DowntownRams.com. We have some great content up there throughout the week and on game days. I appreciate the time, and hopefully we can do this again.
Man, absolutely. Anytime. I'm always ready to hang out with another Ram fan. Folks, follow these guys, as I mentioned, on Downtown Rams. You're being humble. Fantastic podcast, great blogs and articles over there. They got some really nice, great fans, really knowledgeable fans on Downtown Rams. So go follow Blaine. My friend, thanks again. Let's connect throughout the season, and let's connect on that Sunday when they're holding the Lombardi up in the sky, because we need that.
Yes, definitely.
All right, my friend. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Yep, see ya.